Alright, today I'm going to be giving my honest and personal review of rooftops and alleyways. I've been excited for this game to come out ever since, Mirror's Edge Catalyst shut down their servers and whatnot. So I've been excited for what's the next big parkour game coming. And I was scrolling through Instagram a few months ago and the early stages of this popped up. And I realized this was going to be it. So I'll be going through my own personal experience of the game, and we'll be going through some positives and negatives. And honestly, this is more to bring awareness to the game in a way that's, I know, been done before. Others have already reviewed this, played it live, but I wanted this to be kind of your average Joe's experience to the game. That way, others who are casual and just want to know what the game's about, I wanted that to be what this would be. So, without further ado, let's get into looking at the great things about this game and what it could potentially become. So, let's get into that. And each map has its own style, its own flow. So you got the steel yard, you've got the construction site, you got the schoolyard, and the newly added at the time of this video, the newly added parkour training area. Now, this is not like a tutorial area. This is actually based on real parkour buildings, warehouses. And they're pretty fun. Been to a few. They're honestly, he did a great job embodying the spirit, but like behind them. So, honestly, good on him. These are great maps. They leave a lot to be discovered, and you can almost always find something new to do. Even after playing the steel yard for quite a while, I always end up finding my own like new lines, especially once you start playing and learning more about the tricking system and the vaulting systems, especially with the precision jumps. It's always fun to mess around and see if you can find something new. So yeah, if you decide to get the game, you can definitely let your imagination roam free, as the possibilities of what you can do on each map on its own are almost endless, especially with the amount of tricks that are in the game currently and how many are coming to the game later on. It'll be fun to see how creative people can get. Alright, so I'm going to try and speed through 3 bonuses of this game that you've seen in others, probably, but having them all mixed together with your own choice of when and where makes it something special. So, number 1, the game has a first person option. This is an option, you don't have to use it if you don't want to, and also if you want to use it, but say you have problems with motion sickness, like prone to feeling sick while playing like VR games or highly intense first person shooters, he's adjusted this. So you can play it at full power, or you can make it where anytime you do any flips, rolls, or anything of that nature, it will put the camera in third person for that moment. And you can also turn off the hyperrealism first person camera while you're running so that it's more of a smooth operation. That way you can still get the first person feel without feeling like you're going to throw up. Now, number 2 is the addition of slow-mo. Another one where you can use it whenever you want, wherever you need it, wherever you feel like the game could use a little touch of extra scenery. Now, it's good to note that the game has been added with a slider so you can adjust just how much the slowed rate is. So just a minor change or extreme levels of slow. This just to add that little bit of flair that you think would look better. And the final of this group of three is going to be the timed jump. Now this is more well known in the world of parkour as the precision jump, thus meaning you are from a standing point and you launch yourself over to, say, over a jump or onto a ledge. It is a time bar that is added that will fill up, that is judging your power, so you don't have to use the full bar. Of course, I know some of you will say, I paid for the whole bar, I'm going to use the whole bar. And, you know, that's up to you. But adding the precision jump into the game is something that I don't think I've seen in this way. Now, I've surely seen the precision jump added elsewhere. No surprise there. But adding it to a power level bar that, you know, gives you more of a I'm in control feel. And that's just something that I don't think I've seen in other games, really. Funniest aspects of this game entirely, and that's going to be the addition of ragdoll effects. Now, sometimes these are pretty standard, you know, you smack your head on a top of a wall and you fall on your head. You know, like it, just something simple like that, sometimes it's funny to see. But also there are rare cases where you land funny or you're mid-rotation and you hit the corner of a wall or you just clip into something and your character will quite literally get launched from there. Now, I'm sure in some ways this could be used to, say, set a new record to a time run or something similar. But I think it was a great addition to add into the game to kind of give you a break between what it is you're doing. So, you know, say you're trying to go for a new run, trying to get a cool line in, and you just can't get it, and then randomly, just for the fun of it, you hit a wall while flipping and you get launched like 20 feet. Like, that's just something great to see. It's almost like an art form, honestly. Especially if you are more of a higher level player, you understand the games, you play more on a deeper level, and you can learn to manipulate this in a way that benefits you. So, however you want to see that, I think it was a beautiful idea to the game. But now I want to go through some things that I'm sure the developer is working on fixing or maybe altering slightly, which are just these small, slightly inconveniencing bugs that are in the game. And these aren't serious by any means, but they can get quite aggravating if you're doing one of the time trials, or maybe even you're trying to set a new high score on the high score areas. So it's kind of, they're not big by any means. They're just small things that I've noticed while playing. Now, one of the first ones that I noticed is sometimes, and this happens rarely, sometimes when you're climbing something, as in mantling and trying to get over it, you'll end up kind of no clipping or just slightly clipping through the wall to the point where you can't climb back up and your only option is to drop from there. And honestly, sometimes that just, it doesn't ruin it, but it does kind of get rid of the whole parkour feel. And some of the edges are just unmantleable on the new map, and I think he's noticed that, and he's gonna work on it and kind of smooth it out. But that's just one thing I've noticed. Not a big problem, and sure, I'm sure it'll get fixed eventually. And I'm not at all rushing. This developer is really good at listening to the community that he's building this game for. So it's great to see somebody so in tune with the fans. But In some areas, you will find the speed trial has a requirement of, say, 3 wall runs, like a section here. This one requires more, but still. Say that's what it is, and you're going for your wall runs, and sometimes, if you're high enough, something like this happens. Where all I've done is continue the wall run button, which is jumping at the wall, and from then on you hold down the, in this case, mouse button 1 to continue it, and then you will press space to launch yourself from it. Now when you land back on the wall, you kind of auto mantle onto it if you're lined up with it. Like if your camera's lined up with it, even though you're running at it at an angle, you'll climb onto it. And that can build up. So if you've been trying the same time trial like I was doing a couple days ago, you just feel like the game doesn't like you at that moment. So I don't know if what he needs to do is maybe change the height at which you can climb to the top of a wall, or if he needs to increase the angle at which you come at a wall to climb it, or to wall run it. Either or, I'm sure it's a very simple fix, small issue, just like the last one. It's not a big deal. It's just a small detail. And with that, I think I'm going to move on to my final small issue with the game. Like I said, nothing big. Alright, so final little, I guess you could say, bug that I've noticed with the game is there is a certain move called the wall eject. Now this is when you're sliding down a wall or climbing up a wall, there's a certain button you can press depending on what controller you're using. It'll be different. But if you go up to a corner, like this for example, and you kind of jump into it and press that button to wall eject, that's what's supposed to happen is you get pushed off the wall at another wall, you know, so you can kind of Mario wall jump it, right? But sometimes you get something like this. And I found this on my first day playing the game, and honestly, it's kind of goofy to mess around with, and I'm not exactly complaining, it hasn't been a problem. It's just something goofy I've noticed that I don't think was supposed to be there that way. But other times, if you're trying to use the wall eject in a way that could be somewhat normal, you might have to press it twice or 3 times, because the wall eject can be kind of goofy. And, you know, that's fine. But, you know, just a little goofy kind of glitch I've noticed. So you can pretty much climb infinitely like that as long as you've got a corner that just continues to go up. So you could use that to build up a point, like a high score or whatever it is that you find interesting about it. You can kind of mess around with it. So, up to you to decide what you think about that one, because it's definitely fun to mess around with.